road tonight, and Jada Lawson will serve for the Razorbacks to the Horned Frogs, and to the winner goes a Sweet 16 berth. There's Para right away. She gets kill number 1.
A nice swing from Para, recognizing setter is in trouble, going high and tight. Nice job from Nicholson, saving that ball from the net, kind of running that 32 attack to get that big kill. Cecily
Bremschreiber out of Lucas, Texas, serving for the Horned Frogs, who, with that win last night, 17-14, 8-10 in the Big 12, but they're healthy, they're happy, and they're ready to try and make a deep run. And for someone who didn't have an error in the entire first set, that just threw Gillen a little bit off.
It did. That set was a little bit low and off the net. Tough situation, kind of just trying to chip it over, but didn't quite clear the tape.
First 2 points go to the Horned Frogs. Gillen again, that set wasn't quite in the right spot, but she gets the soft kill.
Yeah, it looks like they're a little bit out of system between Hogue and Gillen, which is not something that we typically see. That set was a little bit high. It's tough to keep that tempo when you're running forward. So it's something that we typically see Hogue do a really nice job of, but just a little bit of communication back and forth between them can fix that.
And Hogue serving. Razorbacks got their first point. There's Para off the hands of Courtney Jackson and out.
2 big swings from Para already. Both of them high and inside, going after that sharp angle. I'd like to see Arkansas's block moving a little bit more to take that away.
Gibson had a couple of aces last night. Service error gives Arkansas a free point. Jill Gillen back to serve. 48 aces this season, Arkansas's career ace leader. And the one thing about these seniors, we've had senior day, then there was a match after senior day as Para gets the kill. Then they played last night, and now they do know tonight will be it.
I think this is his senior day times 4 at this point. Everything else after senior day has just been icing on the cake, right?
So there is a finality that comes with playing at Barnhill and who knows for the season. And boy, Para has one of the wildest serves you will see. Watch her rip this one, but into the net.
Yeah, it's a hybrid, not a float serve, right? But it looks like it's going to be a float serve the way that she approaches. Then she goes after it with a side spin, not even a top spin.
Had a couple of errors last night. This is Courtney Jackson. Off the hands, and Audrey Knowles with the kill. TCU's head coach is Jason Williams, his second year. Last year they won the first round matchup, lost in the second round. This program has never been to the Sweet 16, and that's what they're trying to reach this evening. Brianna Green serving. Pettis able to poke it over. Well, that's a good swing. Gibson with the tip. See if Arkansas gets an effort from Cartwright, but it was handled by Nicholson. An extended rally. And a bump set for Cartwright. Free ball, but not put away by Pettis. And there's an answer from Knowles and TCU. They win the long rally.
Really long rally, and a lot of credit should go to Green. She's stepping in, she's serving right now, so there's not a libero on the court for TCU. She had to deliver a whole lot of nice bump sets to Knowles to ultimately put it away.
Green out of Dallas, Denver transfer, 4 years there with the Pioneers. Well, that was hammered down quickly from Sylvester in the middle.
Yeah, almost could be a little bit of a carry. Arkansas bench isn't too upset about it, but
there were a few times last night Florida State was begging for one of these.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. As long as your hand is behind the ball and you're pushing it forward, it's okay. But if it has a little bit of that stick, it could kind of go both ways.
Hawks need an answer. TCU's built this 4-point lead. There's one from Cartwright.
Nice choice from Hogue going back behind to Cartwright. Cartwright was in that one-on-one situation, and she can really put it away when it's one-on-one. Arkansas has been struggling a little bit on that first ball, and it's been really predictable to the outside, but in that situation, Hogue had both the right side and outside available.
Back to a 4-point TCU lead after the service error. This is Nicholson serving. She took over the server duties right before a match with the Texas Longhorns, and it's been there ever since. There's Taylor head, and that one's way up into the rafters. Parra from the back row. She's got the power, but missed. That happened a few times last night where she was a little bit long or wide on her swing.
Yeah, it's a matter of, I think centimeters, not even inches. That looked like a really nice swing, an in-system ball, almost like a Bic, that low set out of middle back, but just missing wide.
Head serving. TCU able to play it out of the stanchion. There's Pettis off the slide, played up by Parra. Oh, what a swing. Several feet off the tape.
Horned Frogs doing a really nice job handling Arkansas's attack. They're staying in system, giving Nicholson all of the options, whoever she wants to go to, doing a really nice job spreading the ball around.
3 kills for Knowles, back to serve, and I think that's the 3rd error, service error, that TCU has suffered in this first set. Arkansas coached by Jason Watson, SEC co-coach of the year. First time they have hosted. In fact, yesterday was the first time in 25 years Arkansas won a home NCAA tournament match.
1998.
Been a long time. And there is Jalen Gibson. We watched her put up quite a performance last night.
Gibson in that right front position, doing a nice job finding that high ankle. Looking at those stats from last night is really killer, especially in 4 sets, tallying 17 kills.
Joe Gillen off the block for a Razorback point.
Nice swing by Gillen going after those high hands. The Horned Frogs have been doing a really nice job digging, keeping in system. I'm surprised they didn't get a fingertip on that one. That's one of those, I think that might be Arkansas's first ball side out, so meaning that they didn't get their point from a rally.
Good point. Serve from Hannah Hogue. Played up by Green. There's Cartwright again, went with the tip. Did the pancake work? Apparently it did. No, it did not.
The pancake did not work, but ultimately the pancake was a little bit too tight to the net. Calling Green on a double. Taking a look at the pancake, the hands under it, but my least favorite call in the game, the double.
The double.
Got him.
Both these teams a little bit juiced up with the service errors here in this first set.
Yeah, and all those service errors have been in the net, so maybe those tosses are just a little bit too low, especially at the beginning. The nerves are setting in. When things start to get tough, things just start getting a little bit too low.
Boy, that had some smoke on it from Knowles.
Great swing by Knowles for her 4th kill in 6 attempts so far out of that middle back position.
Knowles a night ago. Key contributor for this Horned Frog offense. There's Gibson. She got a running swing at that one. Left-handed push is down, and once again, that's Knowles.
TCU really running that middle back attack and the right back attack as if they are in system. So they're really fast balls, keeping that same tempo, taking another look. It's hard to tell if she's in the front row or back row because they're so in system. So when they have Knowles and Gibson in the back row, they have just those additional 2 folks to have to go up and block, and makes it really difficult to defend.
5 kills for Knowles. 5-point lead for TCU. Parra able to put that one down. This has been really an impressive performance by the Horned Frogs.
It has. It feels like they've been in system on almost every single play, and you know, it all starts with some great serving, some great defensive play as well.
Timeout. What a beginning for the TCU.
Same team twice.
See Parr with the 23 kills. Back to action. Gillen with a big swing. Maybe a reset for the Razorbacks during that timeout.
Nice swing by Gillen. We see a 3-block on Gillen in the front row. Not something that's typical for the women's game, but kind of everybody knew that the ball was going to be going to Gillen, so why not throw up all 3 blockers?
Saw that a handful of times yesterday, which was unique. Gibson loves to get that running start. Back row swing from Knowles, and that was long out of her hands. Well, the Razorbacks just cruised in that first set yesterday, 25-8. And again, their second largest crowd in program history. Gillen is back to serve at the 19 kills. Again, 12 of those came in that first set.
Incredible first set. Looks like that ball was out of bounds, maybe touching the pole. So if the ball touches any part of the net or the pole or what have you outside of that antenna, it's considered out of bounds.
Hawks have had a hard time making a little run. Chance for a 3-0 run if they can get a point or an ace here from Gillen. That's her 49th.
You see that really aggressive float serve from Gillen, keeping the Horned Frogs very out of system. You're extremely out of system when you deliver that ace.
Another tough one. Well, that was handled by Nicholson. And the Hogs have a 4-0 run. They're right back in this one.
A lot of credit goes to Gillen for that really aggressive first ball. These last couple of points have been really the only time that the Horned Frogs have been out of system, haven't been able to deliver a difficult ball. Makes everything easier for the Arkansas side. They're in system. They get a good pass, which means you get a good set and a good kill.
It's amazing how that works together. TCU answer. It's probably not what they wanted from Knowles. And there's Taylor Head off some hands. And Arkansas has tied things up just a moment ago. They were down 6.
All with that Horned Frogs staying in system, have all options available. And, you know, when the Horned Frogs are in system, they can really get it done.
So Gillen remains behind the service line. Next ace will be her 50th of the season. But a service error puts the Horned Frogs right back in front. See what type of serve Parr wants to give us here. She's almost out of our picture right now.
It's got to get that big running start going for that side spin serve, and catches the net again. So curious to see on this next rotation. So in 6 rotations, what serve she decides to go with.
That's a good point. I think you'd be hesitant to do that 3 times in a row.
Yeah, that's tough. It's always a balance of risk-reward, but you never want to go down 3 errors to...
Boy, Courtney Jackson clipped the tape, and then she gets an ace. That was really close to being another service error, but instead, Arkansas, I believe, has its first lead of set 1. Parr from the middle. A free ball that carried out. One that wasn't able to be handled.
A nice swing from Parr out of that middle back position. The Horned Frogs do a really great job of keeping those back row attacks in system. They're not a Hail Mary type of play. It's very much part of the offense, and Parr can really get it done from that middle back.
This is Green. Well, he'll get to come flying in to handle that one. And somehow, with the slip, the Razorbacks get the point. That was unfortunate. Brianna Green just went down and kind of crumpled on the court.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a wet spot on the court or something going on. Either way, good court awareness from Head going to where the libero typically is, right? Green's playing back there as a middle back, maybe not the best defender.
Tied again. We've been tied at 14, 15, 16, and now 17.
Yeah, a whole lot of service errors from both teams. Keeps it interesting, right? Not a lot of big runs when you have a lot of service errors.
It is true. Off the slide, Pettis off the hands, into the stands. Point Hogs.
I like that play from Arkansas. Pettis going behind with Hogue in the front row is important. You know, it's just Pettis and Head up there in that last rotation, so you want to do your best to split those blockers, keep your opponent's middle blocker guessing.
That's in. You could see Bramschreiber at the very end think, oh no, that's starting to drop, I'm in trouble. And the 2-point lead is Arkansas's largest.
Great float serve from the Head. That's exactly what you want to see from a float serve. It kind of looks like it's coming at your chest, going to go out, and that last second it drops.
That one had some movement as well. Back-to-back aces for Taylor Head.
Yeah, nothing fancy with that jump float serve. Nice, consistent serve coming at your chest, and then when it has movement, it doesn't even need to drop. It's just kind of that knuckleball at that last second.
Well, do things travel in threes? They will not, at least for the time being. Gibson couldn't get the kill. What happened there?
Something that we don't typically see. That set from Hogue was really far off the net. The way that a slide attack works is basically Pettis is almost in the air when the ball is in Hogue's hand. So if this ball is not where it needs to be, there's really no hope for her to save it.
Gillen trying to get her involved, and she does, right off the hands of Nicholson.
What a nice big swing. I mean, that said, it looked like it was a little bit behind Gillen, but her hitting window is so big that it doesn't matter. She winds up, recognizes she has about a foot or so of line, goes after it to Nicholson.
Her 4th kill. She just hung in the air in that replay. Lawson serving, clipped the tape, but played up by Knowles. Set back, and Arkansas doesn't get a lot of blocks, but there's one with Zoe Evans.
Evans bringing the fire.
TCU was down big, like 6 points in the first set yesterday, and came back to win 26-24. The Aces have been working, and what do we have, another double?
I think we have 4 hits. So on that first one, I think 2 different players touch the ball. So you can double the first attempt as long as it's you and the play is consecutive. However, it touched 2 different players and then another player and another, and that equals
That's
4.
too many.
That's too many.
6 aces for the Razorbacks here in this first set. And the block from Gillen and Evans. And we're at set point.
Big block. Gillen does such a nice job pressing her hands over the net, delivering that straight down block. There's no way you can cover those ones.
Rayola's going to check in for Knowles for TCU. We're at set point. TCU maybe you thought was the better blocking team. Arkansas has had a couple here in just the last few minutes. And Lawson serving again. TCU needs an answer. They went to Para. Can the Razorbacks finish it off here with Jill Gillen? Played up by Rayola. Bump set. And Para got some heat on it. Was it out? It was. Arkansas at one time down 6, Caitlin. They win it by 7.
Wow, what a turn of events from that middle of that first set.
Their sports right now.
It is a lot of fun, and you know, not a lot of folks are leaving early to go to the pro leagues overseas, and I think that helps as well. But it's a lot of fun to watch a team grow together.
Well, we wondered where the block was for TCU, and there it is, making an appearance to start set 2.
Yeah, their first block of the night so far. We know they're a strong blocking team, so interesting to see it happen only here in set 2.
This is Nicholson. Hogue feeds Cartwright, went quick to the middle.
It's a really strong rotation for Arkansas. They run that play often. We typically call it an X. So Cartwright coming in front with Evans going on that slide behind. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, Hogue's going to set Cartwright. And 9 times out of 10, I feel like Cartwright's getting that kill.
Para with the heat. Taylor Head had it sent back, and there's another TCU block.
Big, strong block. Good job by the Horned Frogs recognizing Jackson is setting. It's likely going to Head. That's an easy read, but doing a nice job getting their hands pressing low and over.
Gillen in the back row, so Arkansas with a different contingent up front. And the Horned Frogs with a good beginning. Did Jason Watson think there was, he was up off his seat for a second, but TCU gets the point.
Yeah, Watson thinking that ball sailed out, but
there was a touch.
There was a touch at the net, and wasn't a lot of fighting about the call, so I think there was indeed a touch at the net.
Taylor Head had it blocked again, and all of a sudden that front pin for the Horned Frogs has been effective, and Gibson one of the two involved.
Yeah, I think Gibson might have heard you talking about how they haven't been so strong blocking, because 3 blocks, I think 3 blocks in a row. Maybe there was 1 point that Arkansas got in the middle there. But really strong work, nice eye work, recognizing where that ball's going.
And there was a tool to the block, and Cartwright the kill for a much-needed Arkansas point after a 4-1 Horned Frog beginning.
Arkansas was becoming a little bit predictable, kept going to the outside pin, and of course that makes it a little bit easier to block.
Who charts that? Is that a coach thing when you're talking about predictability, or can a setter pick that up on the fly?
I think it's both. You can kind of, it's an art and a science. You can kind of feel, oh man, I haven't set behind in quite some time. But it's nice to have your coaches remind you as well.
Pretty good swings, pretty good digs, played up by Para, and then just dumped straight down by Sylvester. That's her toolbox right there, going up and slamming one to the court.
Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of big swings from her, but a lot of smart playing, redirecting the ball.
She is 6'3", middle blocker, so she's able to go up and get pretty high above that tape. Pettis. Boy, that hit a couple of Frogs. It just rolled away.
Pettis running that 3 ball out of the middle, so a couple of feet away from the setter, finding a different gap. Does a nice job splitting the blockers.
This is Cartwright. TCU going fast, and a big swing from Green.
TCU going with that exact same play that Arkansas just ran, the 3 ball out of the middle with Green, and the exact same result, a kill, splitting the block.
Good angle to see just that on the replay. Hogue with a wild bump set across the floor to Head, and Arkansas got the point.
Nice work from Head, finding those high hands when she has a solid double block up. We all know when the setter is bump setting with that angle that the ball is going to go to the outside pin. Hogue doesn't even have a right side to go to since she is in the front row, so Head making the most with what she got there.
Head from the middle, played by Gibson. And there's Parr. We see the heat. We saw the finesse on that one.
Really smart play from Parr. Kind of almost looked like Hogue was on her way down a little early on the block, and that tip was able to dribble right over. It almost looked like the ball was going to hit Hogue's back.
Parr has had a bit of a back issue. In fact, we saw her warming up. She had this R2-D2 C3PO device around her back, probably getting a little heat or stimulation. And TCU wins that point.
Yeah, Parr still going with that hybrid side spin jump serve. We saw those first 2 hitting the tape, but ultimately successful with that one, forcing that really tight pass.
I mean, if she gets it over and in, it is really hard to handle.
Yeah, that one isn't statted as an ace, but it might as well should be.
Played nicely by Courtney Jackson. A little bit behind Gillen. Looked like she was going to get the kill, but a great effort by Knowles. And TCU is going to have to save a couple of times. It looked like Arkansas was close to getting a point, but they did not. Will the third time be a charm? It is not. Good job, TCU. And another tip, this time handled by Cartwright. And a sustained rally, and it's unfortunate. That's how it had to end.
His nice work on both sides. Saw some really nice digs. Perfect on both sides until the very end, but taking a look at this save, I mean, how did that even, I thought at first it went underneath the net. I didn't know how it, the angles made it go over. But just, yeah, a little bit of miscommunication at the very end. I like the choice, though. Running the middle in transition is really smart, but it looked like Green was going for a slide, and Nicholson was setting that quick behind.
Jada Lawson with the air, and she came out, and immediately she looks to Susie Fritz and goes, higher, no, higher.
Yeah, it's tough with that jump float serve. You want it to just clear the top of the tape, because if you get too high, then it's just too easy.
Brianna Green with the serve, and Zoe Evans with the kill.
Evans with her first kill of the night so far. We know she's a strong blocker, and that's her primary purpose for the Razorbacks, so I'd like to see her getting her first kill of the night.
named to the All-SEC service team earlier this week for her efforts beyond the playing court. Boy, that was a hard directing push by Knowles.
Yeah, that was almost kind of a fake out. It looked like she was going up with her one arm, and ultimately that deep push tip going up. And even if typically you have a tendency as a right back, if you see the hand go up early, you're kind of crash in, but she decides to tip it deep. Looked like Hogue was on her way coming in, so nice job pushing that deep tip from Knowles.
That thing go down, it did. So there was a tip that was in the air a long time, but the Frogs couldn't handle it from Cartwright.
Smart play, finding the middle of the court. Those ones are, for the Horned Frogs, you're just like, oh man, I wish I had that one back, because you want your opponents to tip. Those are those easy ones.
Arkansas with the block. Evans and Taylor Head, and the Hawks climbing a little bit closer.
That block is huge, because we've seen Arkansas struggle a little bit against their opponents, the right side. So Head going up there, delivering a nice strong block, can really get the momentum going.
Keeps Gillen behind the service line. Courtney Jackson handles it. Does so again. Hawks a little bit out of whack, but able to play it over. Someone touched the center line.
Yeah, it looks like we had a foot underneath the line, a little bit too much on Arkansas side.
3-0 Razorback run. See if we can take a peek, and I think we can assume that's the case. Good shot by our crew. And when Arkansas had a chance to tie after being down 4, another service error. So they've had some great aces, and they've had some errors that balance.
Yeah, we know they don't exactly net out. The aces and the errors don't always tell the full story. But at least later in that second half of the first set, Arkansas doing a nice job putting the pressure on the Horned Frogs to come back.
This is Courtney Jackson, junior out of Olathe, Kansas. Maybe an unsung year for Courtney Jackson with her efforts. Arkansas, Jason Watson said, would not have wanted Auburn after Thanksgiving were it not for her play when they were down 2-0. Right in front of Jackson. She couldn't handle that smoke, and TCU avoids Arkansas coming back to tie.
Knowles having a really nice night so far. 7 kills already, hitting almost 400, especially kind of bouncing back from maybe a not as stellar performance last night. Shows what a strong player she is to be able to bounce back.
Arkansas out of whack, able to play it over. TCU at the point. And the one thing you consider about playing on back-to-back nights, both of these teams emotional wins last night. TCU played a little bit longer. TCU in the Big 12 this year had to play back-to-back nights a lot, playing on Fridays and Saturdays, something Arkansas and the SEC did previously. It was terrible. I'm glad they changed it, but that does provide TCU a little bit of experience in this format.
This is true. You have a kind of a pregame routine, especially for that second day. You're always talking about what should you do. Like you said, I'm happy the SEC isn't doing that anymore. It's just a funky schedule, but like you mentioned, it kind of just like another day for TCU with this format.
Now, they're not playing the same team, obviously, but you know, Arkansas really down the stretch, the travel did them no favors. The fatigue was real, and so many matches on the road. Oh, they're going to play it over. They did with Head. Maybe a little bit of a surprise. Blocked it back. Well, this would be an emotional point for the Hogs to win with this crowd now invested in this rally. Taylor Head can't terminate. High-level play right now. That was smoke, but out. And a fist bump from Jason Watson.
That's always good news. What a nice heads-up play from Hogue. We talk about her setting a lot because she's a setter and she does a really good job, but just to be able to turn around from blocking, get a hand on it, so you can let the other team ultimately make the mistake so you can get the point is fantastic.
There's Para. Hey, Hogue almost put that one down. That one's near the tape. Sent over to Taylor. Hey, did she get some hands? Oh, she did not. Jason Watson, I think, is going immediately for the challenge card. And then Maggie Cartwright said, wait a minute, did they change it? They changed the ruling?
They changed it. So either way, so Coach Watson was saying, oh, there's definitely some hands, but ultimately TCU was in the net. I believe it was Gibson. So didn't have to, you know, spend some time with the challenge because I think he would have ultimately won that challenge anyway.
Maggie just told him to put that card down, so she knew something immediately. Tooled off the block, and when Arkansas finally got it back to tie, TCU takes a lead. Let's go back and take a look at this last point.
Looking for some action on the net.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, pretty obvious, and that was still shaking a bit after Cartwright went back to serve.
Taylor Head with the tip, and all of a sudden both of these teams have had some tips working.
Yeah, making it look easy. We've seen a lot more first ball side outs. Both teams doing a nice job handling the first ball off the serve.
Hitting percentages, Arkansas 240 this set, 269 for the match. At one time this was an 8-4 Frogs lead. Ugh.
That's tough. You know, you got to get those points,
Finally
get
get
those
back
rallies
even
going.
for the Razorback. Hey, we get a timeout. Does not want to go down 2-0 on the road, and it's been hard to get a little separation here in set 2. Pettis off the slide, a solo block put down by 6'1" Audrey Knowles.
What a nice block from Knowles. One-on-one situation against the slide is never easy, but you recognize, hey, that's my hitter. If Pettis is going behind, that automatically becomes her hitter. Does a nice job tracking and at the exact right time, pressing low and over the net.
Cartwright has to play it over the PA announcer. And off the slide, there's another kill from Brianna Green, so a little bit of separation now for TCU.
I think that separation comes from the good serving from Para. You don't see any aces on the stat sheet so far, but TCU is able to run that middle behind in system, making it look easy because Arkansas had to give them that free ball.
Para all of a sudden locating those serves, which she wasn't early. Hawks would like to get her off that service line some way, somehow, but it'll continue on.
Para's kind of mixed it up a little bit. At first serve was that side spin, but then she threw in a short ball, which Arkansas has been battling with a little bit, but now going back to that side spin serve.
Timeout. Jason Watson spins one here with
easy jump float serve, but this has really changed the trajectory for the second match, so she's sticking to what she knows and is doing a really nice job.
So here we go, Para serving again. Maybe the timeout worked.
If you believe in that sort of thing, but lucky break for Arkansas, no less.
This is Jada Lawson. Boy, that bump is so close to the net, it provides a good opportunity for TCU and their setter to feed the hitters.
It is perfect pass. That pass is just too easy. Nicholson delivering a nice fast ball to the outside for Knowles to put it away. It's just, that ball's so fast when they're in system. It's hard for the block to get up there and press.
This was a TCU team, and even Coach Williams told us, you know, at 16-14, 8-10 in the Big 12, they go into Selection Sunday. He said, I was 90% convinced we were in, but there's still some trepidation, wondering if your name's going to get called.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that last night with Arkansas playing against HGA, and it's that same kind of feeling.
Yep.
You think you're going to get in, but with that little bit of doubt, it makes practice just a little bit different than when you're totally sure.
Couple of wins against the Baylor Bears back-to-back really probably provided that ammunition. And the tip goes, the block goes out of bounds. Arkansas back within 2. This is Hannah Hogue. Those deliberate steps before she turns one loose. Back set to Gillen. She's been a little bit quiet, but back in the front row and doing some damage.
Nice work from Gillen. Of course, beautiful set from Jackson, making it look easy whenever Hogue gets that first dig, which she gets a whole lot of digs. A lot of folks send balls her way because, you know, if you get that setter taking that first ball, it's a little bit easier to read where the ball's going, but Jackson does such a nice job feeding her hitters as well.
Almost an ace, but handled by, oh, is that going to make it over? It did, barely. Maggie Cartwright, well, she's had success with the tip tonight.
Really has. Really nice heads-up play. That free ball from the Horned Frogs is one of the toughest free balls. A lot of traffic in the area. Interesting choice from Hogue to go to Cartwright with over, and some of those might as well just be an ace when you give them a really easy ball. But nice job not allowing an ace. It's not easy.
So Hogue serving for the Razorbacks. I don't know if Arkansas has had a lead this entire, maybe 15-14 they might have been up. And there's Para.
Yeah, when the going gets tough, you know TCU is going to find Para, even if she is in the back row. Does a nice job running that big. I like that choice. You're in that back row position, kind of have good eyes all over the court. She decides to go after those high hands.
Cartwright's tried the tip. This time it didn't work. Arkansas got the block, but Parr was able to save. Gillen had to play back her own swing. She's going to get a chance to do another one and kind of roll that one down.
Oh, what a smart play. So on that first attempt from Gillen, I don't think she wanted to tip it, but just by design where the set was, she had to tip it. So just giving herself another opportunity, but looking at that really nice heads-up play from TCU. And then ultimately waiting for her time, recognized she's kind of on her way down and just sneaks it through the block. You can tell that's just a really veteran player move.
The block goes out of bounds.
Oh man, that was straight down, just matter of inches, just angling that left hand a little bit more, and Head would come away with the block.
This is Knowles. 3 aces last night in the win against FSU. Cartwright, boy, she's loved the tips. This was handled, bodies down for TCU. Got some fingers, and that's another point. So all of a sudden the Horned Frogs have built a 22-20 advantage.
Both teams going to their right sides on that last rally. Interesting choice from Cartwright going back to the tip again. I thought that was a good set. She's been tipping a lot. I would think that the Horned Frogs are all over it, and they were on that last one.
Para put one down. And this was tied at 20, but 3 straight points for the Horned Frogs. Jason Watson, I think, is going to spend a timeout, recognizing the importance of these next couple of points.
These last few points.
3-0 run by the Horned Frogs. Kentucky, we know, has already advanced to the Sweet 16 on the other side of this bracket, so I'm sure somewhere in Lexington they're watching us. So welcome in, Wildcats. Cartwright put one down for a much-needed Razorback point.
Like Cartwright going with that big swing, kind of staying away from the tip. The Horned Frogs have been all over the tip. It's time to break out the swing.
Can Hannah Hogue, or I beg your pardon, Courtney Jackson going to run here. Block back and down.
What a nice block from Cartwright. I thought that was a really great set from Nicholson to Para. One of those where I felt like it was going to be a big kill, but Cartwright's hands were in the exact right position. You could tell her really far on TCU's side of the net.
Para turned around and watched the replay on the video board just to see what happened. Played up and over by Head. Para gets another chance. Hogue's going to set up Taylor. Head blocks out of bounds, and Arkansas has answered a 3-0 run with one of their own.
Arkansas right back, and I think a lot of credit is to Cartwright slowing down Para on the outside. These are some really nice sets and some big swings, but again, one of those things that you don't see on the stat line is those touch blocks, and it doesn't need to be a stuff block.
TCU had a 3-0 run. Arkansas called timeout. Arkansas 3-0 run. TCU called timeout. So here we go. Must win by 2. Para was a little bit out of whack. Gibson had it sent back. Para has to play it to the corner. No hands. Oh, was there a hand?
Oh, what a nice swing from Gibson to find those high hands. That ball was really out of system, and she went for the ultimate, what we call undiggable ball hitting high, high, high off the hands.
Razorback fans started to celebrate, but the point went to TCU.
Looks like maybe caught the right hand of Pettis.
Yep. This is set point for TCU. Bremschreiber serving for the Frogs. Arkansas out of system, had to play it over. TCU likewise. Courtney Jackson handled it. Taylor Head kills it.
Again, just making it look easy. Cartwright having a heck of a night. 9 kills already. Hitting .474. I like her going after this big swing. The last couple have been, you know, a tip or a little bit of an off-speed shot, but she gets after it. When TCU has game point, it shows you, you know, your faith you have in yourself and your talents and your abilities.
I'm struggling to think if Arkansas's had a lead this entire set until now.
I think for sure they have a lead now. I think for sure.
I'm going through my notes, and unless I'm missing something, that may have been the first. And now this would be a demoralizing defeat for TCU, considering they've had kind of a stranglehold on this one. But it's set point for the Razorbacks with Cartwright serving. TCU needs an answer, and they're going to get one as that one ends up in the seats.
Answer goes to Gibson as she rotates back to the service line. A nice break for Arkansas to get her in the back row, although she does do some damage from that right back position, hitting as well. She's kind of been that saving grace for TCU down the stretch.
Taylor Head, big swing, Arkansas back up one.
That's the bread and butter for Arkansas. Perfect pass to Hogue. She has all of her options available, decides to go quick to the outside for Head to put it away.
Taylor had a chance to put Arkansas up 2-0. Para couldn't finish. Can the Razorbacks do so with Jill Gillen? Arkansas finds a way to come back and take set 2.
In both sets, Arkansas, you know, not maybe having a commanding lead at the beginning, but somehow, some way, service line getting an easy ball from TCU, and then they're able to run their offense.
All right, if you're TCU, does that shake you a little bit? We saw them dancing, having a good time. Didn't seem like the tension is reached that precarious level, but that has to be a little bit of a fog to try and shake.
It has to be, and I think they're having fun and you know, playing really loose and fun because they were winning, you know, for so long, especially in that second set. It almost doesn't even feel like they lost it because they were in control for so long.
Keep in mind, in both the first and fourth set yesterday, it looked like TCU was going to lose to Florida State, and they found a way to win to get here. Right? The craziness of sports.
You never know.
Let's see who gets off to a good start in set 3. Again, a must-win set 3 for the Horned Frogs, and a freebie will start things off.
So do you almost not want to get off to a good start with the way that things are going?
Yeah, maybe. I would tend to say no, but I could easily be wrong. That was some heat from Joe Gill.
Beautiful swing from Gillen. Her hitting window is just so big. There's times where I think the ball is set a little bit behind her, but I think that's by design, exactly where she wants to hit it and rip it. You know, the set can't be too tight, especially if you're a little bit of an undersized player going against a big block, but I don't know how she does it when the ball is it almost looks like a foot or two behind her head.
I'm with you. Maybe it allows those blockers to start coming down by the time she's still hanging in the air. There's
something about it because it almost looks like she's throwing the ball, but obviously she's not.
For the match, Arkansas is hitting .315. TCU not far behind at .297. Cartwright unable to terminate. Hogue sets up Taylor Head, sent back, and just out.
Oh, that was really close. At least
that's court awareness.
Yeah, from where we are. I thought that ball was landing in, but nice heads up play from Jackson. She's always right there covering her hitters, and Coach Watson, you know, has so many nice things to say about her, and especially in that category, she does a really nice job, and that's not reflected in the stat sheet. That's not counted as a dig. That's just a regular run-of-the-mill pass, but it's a really hard thing to do.
Free ball, but it wasn't terminated. Who was in the net? TCU was in the net. Was that Para?
It was a down official throwing up that 23. No argument from Para, so she must have felt it.
Something's still bouncing, but there was some traffic around the net.
Yeah, I think the ball caught the net, but Para did as well.
Nicholson had to try and save that one. She's down on the court. Arkansas briefly was playing 5-on-4. And did it land in? Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh man, that is a heartbreaker. It looks like
that spun backwards.
It spun all of the ways, but the way that you would expect. It looked like Cartwright was thinking that it touched the antenna, but it didn't. I don't think.
It landed in. It did not touch the antenna. You couldn't make a ball do that if you tried all day. Spin it up, ride it, and then land in.
It almost looked like Para's serve with the way that it has that funky spin on it.
Both teams just trying to make something happen here. Block back and down. Arkansas back in front.
Nice strong block from Arkansas, but really nice job forcing the out-of-system play from TCU. We saw Adams up there setting. They kind of have her come in as a blocking substitution, which is something interesting. No setter on the floor, so she has to throw up those hands, but when she's setting, it's likely going to the outside pin, so it makes it easy for your blockers to know where the ball's going to get that big block.
Hogue goes right back to Taylor Head.
Oh, and it looks like that one, it never went.
Tied at 4. This is Brianna Green. First a substitution for TCU. Taylor Rayola coming in. Talked about her yesterday. Her dad played 9 years in the NFL, and her brother Dylan, #1 quarterback in the country, committed to Georgia. Georgia went down to defeat today to Alabama, so there's a sport called football that's still going on right now. Yes, I'll just fill you in. Did Taylor Head find the corner? She did. There was not much room, but she hit it perfectly.
She does such a nice job with that wrist away shot, so her thumb ultimately ending down towards the court, finding that really sharp angle.
Taylor Head can't handle the swing from Knowles.
What a nice effort from Nicholson on the set, keeping her hitters in system, keeping that ball in front of Knowles. That pass was about 18 feet off the net and low, but she still found a way to square up to the outside pin.
Hogue tried to dump it down. TCU was able to handle it. Hogue will set up Pettis. And again, she goes back corner and finds the mark.
Seen a lot of Pettis going behind on the slide attack, but something a little bit different on that one. That's just a quick set behind. It looked like Pettis was almost still as a statue, frozen in the air. You know, when you're like that, you have an opportunity to take a look at where you want to hit it, and she finds the deep left back.
Lawson serving. Gibson. And she was able to go deep and got a touch as well.
Big swing from Gibson out of the middle, running that X play, kind of like what we talked about earlier for Arkansas, something similar that Cartwright does.
Both of these teams with hitting percentages now below 300, and how about an ace as well for the Frogs as they regain the lead?
First time that Arkansas has been aced in quite some time.
Knowles had 3 of those last night against FSU. 26 on the season, now 27. Gillen had to play her own block. She'll get another chance. No surprise she tried to go up and over that time. And Parra with a head of steam, and that's dangerous.
What a big swing. When she's high and inside, she could really go after that really sharp angle that's up to the Arkansas block. Hogue especially to scoot in even more when the ball's set inside. Hitters have a tendency to go sharp, and Parra really is getting it done.
Golden opportunity for TCU to keep on rolling, and they do with Gibson.
Nice swing from Gibson, but I'm really impressed with Nicholson's setting right now. It's putting a lot of pressure on Evans, a lot of situations where her hitters are in one-on-one situations.
Knowles with the air. And keep in mind, for her to take over mid-season, mid-conference play, right before a Texas match,
right
was
before
crazy.
Texas, I mean, it doesn't get much more difficult than that. As a freshman, getting out there your first match against one of the best.
Had 56 assists in her first start as well. Taylor Head able to play it. Cartwright sent it over. And there's a kill from Sylvester, just sending one over. That's what she does best.
Yeah. I'm sure Arkansas knows it's coming. They know that she's not going to deliver a big swing, but she's still just so good at redirecting the ball and still finds a way to get a kill.
Is that vision?
I think it is, but there's a couple of spots as a middle hitter where you know are typically going to be open just by a byproduct of how folks come in on the block. You know, if the right side's helping on the block, usually that right front is open. But like you mentioned before, she's so tall, she has the ability to kind of just stuff it down.
Handled by Brandschreiber. Arkansas maybe a little bit lucky to play that one over. Now to that, they end up getting a kill.
Yeah, it looked like Hogue just got her pinky fingernail on that one. If she was a half-inch taller, I think that rally would have been over a whole lot sooner. But nice work. Good job by Cartwright getting a touch on the block and ultimately getting that big kill to the deep corner.
We have a violation.
Yeah, we had a net violation. I think Evans or Cartwright was in the net. I missed what the town official said, but
still
no
bouncing.
protest. It
Yep.
still did bouncing, and I don't think that was the ball.
So the Frogs have built a 3-point lead. Maybe the Razorbacks have them right where they want them.
That was really close. I mean, that's a great swing from Cartwright. If that overpass were to go in, that would have been a real soul crusher, but Gillen following it all the way to the line, and it ended up out.
Arkansas 25-18, 27-25 winners in the first two sets. Hogs have a hitting percentage of .295. What a job again by Courtney Jackson. Gillen from the middle. Oh, Jackson played it over with her left arm. And the block by Taylor Head.
Oh, fabulous defense, both blocking and defensive-wise. I mean, I saw a huge dig from Jackson, and then on that second play, she was there. It just ended up that Cartwright was there to touch it, but Head ultimately getting it done on that outside pin.
Jason Watson will say there's not many liberos in the country that can do what Jackson does as far as keeping balls alive. And that swing was wide and out, so the Hogs have come back to tie, and that's a 3-0 run.
All starts with some aggressive serving from Jackson, delivering that ball with some pace. Again, not something that you see on the stat sheet, not an ace, but just keeping the Horned Frogs just a little bit out of system.
Frogs need an answer. Hogs tried to take the lead. That was kind of thrown over behind her back by Pettis. Jackson again plays it up. Gillen's going to retrace her steps and let Head take a shot. She got some heads, and the Hogs have a lead.
Head getting it done when she's like 15 feet off the net, still delivering that ball with some pace after those high hands.
TCU with the timeout. We'll be right back. 4-0 Arkansas run at Kentucky.
You know what they say, third time's a charm.
After the timeout, Was that touched by Arkansas or not? It was not. That was long from Green. I think TCU thought maybe that hit a hair bow or something of Gillen.
I think it might have, if not on the block, on Gillen. The ball was coming so fast, it's hard to get out of the way.
If it hits the hair, does that count?
It does.
All
it
right.
does, but if your hair touches the net, if you keep winning, yeah, that's tough.
And there was a touch, and TCU will take that point.
I see Gillen with a smile. I think that's the right call. Oh, and we have this substitution again for TCU. Not something that we see a lot, at least in the women's game. So Nicholson is out. She is their only setter that is playing right now, and blocking substitution coming in. So TCU putting all their eggs in one basket, thinking that that ball is going to go outside to head, and it doesn't. It goes to Cartwright. And now it's up to a little bit of miscommunication. Who's taking that second ball?
And yet TCU wins the point. You're a little bit concerned who's going to take charge.
Yeah, and that's tough for Arkansas, right? They got them in a spot where there's some confusion, a lackluster bump set to the outside, and Knowles is still able to put it away.
Serving in front of the Razorback student section is Parra, native of Mexico.
Yeah, and they do this rotation with Parra serving because you can expect that she's going to really get Arkansas out of system. So when you're out of system, we know the ball goes to the outside, and they're hoping for Adams to just get a big stuff block right away.
Okay.
But it only works if the ball goes over the net.
It does have a big factor in the whole process. Makes sense. And that's going to be an Arkansas point on the swing from Knowles. So the Hogs have taken a 14-13 lead. Gillen couldn't handle. Oh, she did. And then Cartwright played it up. Gillen again. And the joust works.
Oh my goodness. That was amazing. What a fantastic pair of digs from Gillen. That first right, you know, she's getting a hand on it. But that second one, there was no block. And she was able to get a perfect dig. Maybe we'll take another look, but then Pettis doing a nice job figuring out where she is on the court. That would be a really tough play for Hogue to handle, and she gets that easy kind of a block kill.
If Arkansas wins it, and again I think they thought there was 4 hits, and that'll be the case, it's their ability to turn what could have been a couple of sure TCU points into Arkansas points that feels like it swung.
It really swung, and that's just so frustrating if you're TCU. Those are really good swings. They're taking another look at this call. That was ultimately, or initially ruled as 4.
Did they say that both Pettis and Jackson touched it? Because Jason had his challenge card out, but I think they're just going to play on.
You know, 4, I'm not sure if that's one that you can challenge.
All right, that would be the why. There was an explanation, and Jason put that card down. Sylvester tried that slam dunk again. Gillen from the middle, and Parra somehow with a two-handed effort to save. And then put down by Knowles. A much-needed TCU point.
Knowles really stepping up and having a nice night. TCU needs her to be effective when Parra is in the back row, and really nice dig from Parra to set that all up. But Knowles already with 13 kills, only 5 errors.
Nearly an ace, and somehow the Hawks save. Almost had that joust. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, what an unfortunate series of events. Not able to handle the initial free ball. This is a really good TCU team. I mean, that free ball is coming in the right front position, and there's usually a lot of commotion in that part of the court, right? Because the setter's coming up to the front row. We have a couple of different players. Tough to get out of the way when you're a setter running that first ball. I can't believe that ended up, I don't know if Cartwright gets a kill on that, or what happens?
We've had a couple of those, and that was another swing from Parr that was just out of play.
Parra's swings are just missing wide. The stats aren't great for her right now. 9 kills, 7 errors, but those 7 errors are so close. They look really nice until that last second, and they're just missing the sidelines.
And that's a costly error at that point when Arkansas was trying to extend the lead. They had their largest, I do believe, of this third set. This is Nicholson. Oh, is that a error of some sort?
It looks like it, but the up official never blew the whistle.
Okay, that's
so
probably why she
saved.
stopped.
Yes.
Yep. Pettis going fast, going efficient. Point Arkansas.
Pettis stepping up. It's important, especially with Hogue in the front row. Of course, with Hogue's in the front row, she only has 2 front row hitters, especially with Gillen up there. Those are one of those opportunities where TCU is probably trying to bring all 3 blockers to Gillen. So if you can get Pettis going, and now Evans is in, if you can get them going and just make them an option, it takes a lot of pressure off of Gillen.
And a block. Gillen and Evans stuff it down.
Incredible, and just Gillen is just so much fun to watch. You can see how she comes off in that. For a right side, you're just not getting as many opportunities, so the ability to be that efficient go-to person is really important.
And does the block carry out? It did. We've had a few of those where it's just been so close, where it's landed or there's really no chance to play it. You're just hoping it'll go one way or another.
And nice work from Parra, following it all the way to the line, but just, again, that little tweak in handwork can make that ball go from out to in. Looked like that ball was rolled down, but Arkansas wasn't quite sure, so tried to keep playing it, but ultimately the point going to TCU.
Well, TCU has run off now 3 straight points, and Arkansas has been completely out of whack. So credit the Horned Frogs for now try to reversing what they did in the first couple of sets when they had the late lead.
Yeah, and I think a lot of credit goes to Knowles behind the service line, putting a lot of pressure on Arkansas again.
And now Knowles back to serve. 25 kills last year in the first round of the NCAA tournament against Washington. So no stranger to this stage, the big stage, if you will. And that's now a 4-0 run by TCU.
Parra stepping up and doing a nice job again when that set is a little bit higher and inside. She really crushes it on that sharp angle.
Horned Frogs trying to regain the momentum. Played out of the net. That was a big swing for the Horned Frogs. Handled by Bramschreiber. Gillen able to send it over. Parra again, free ball. That's Sylvester's move. Tried again, and it went down.
Sylvester still getting it done with that really strong tip. A couple of big saves on both sides of the net. Not sure how this one ultimately made it over, but it did, and Sylvester's there to put it away.
5-0 run by TCU. Evans answers. Arkansas, that was a much needed point, it felt like, for the Hogs. Otherwise, TCU was going to be on their way to a set 3 win.
Really did feel like it. Nice work from Hogue, keeping it on her side of the net, and I like that choice. resetting Evans instead of just kind of taking an easy way out, going for that dump, because it looked like the Horned Frogs were jumping with Hogue, so that put Evans in a nice position.
Tight serve to the net, handled by the Horned Frogs. Oh, goodness.
I'm not sure how Cartwright even got some hands on that one. But
I'm not either.
Yeah, she saved it.
There's Cartwright. Free ball. Maggie couldn't quite put it away, and Bremschreiber back to save, and there's Para. Handled by Jackson. High-level volleyball now. Cartwright tried to go a little bit short. Nicholson scooped it. There's Gibson, blocked back. And it spins down. Let's try this again. Well, that's way up in the air. And who touched it? Point Arkansas.
Oh, who touched it? Who touched the net? Oh, man, Sylvester in the net on that high, tight pass from Arkansas. Nice work from Hogue, again, keeping the ball on her side of the net because the ball was really high. It looked like it was almost going to land over on TCU's side. But Sylvester ultimately in the net. What a great rally.
That was something else. Hogue serving long and in!
Oh, man, what a textbook, fantastic float serve. So it's landing in that, what we call a two-seam, so it's the space in between right back and middle back. It looks like it's going to sail out, but then at that last second, it drops straight down.
I think TCU was comfortable that was going to be out, and it dropped in. That one, though, not close.
No, did not have that same drop at the very end, but similar seam. Arkansas going after TCU's right side of the court. Probably because when, the pass is coming from right back, it's really hard to set your outside hitter with the way that the angle and the balls are coming from. Parr's been doing a nice job these last couple of points.
There's Cartwright. Gibson puts one down. Oh, is it out? It was out. And is TCU going to challenge, or did they have a clean look? Here comes the card.
Not sure. I think it might be.
And it is reversed. That's huge. That's a good example of that official right there. I mean, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot of folks in the area. But yeah, from that angle, looked pretty in.
Arkansas has found a way late to win the first two sets. TCU trying to stay alive and pull out set 3. Hawks need a point. They go to Gillen. Cartwright had it sent back, and TCU is at set point.
A nice heads-up play earlier in that rally from Jackson, but sticky situation from Cartwright. Everyone want to see out of your libero and setter. Calm, cool, and collected.
Set point for TCU. Bremschreiber serving to the Hawks. Arkansas is going to stay alive for the time being.
Yeah, and that go-to play out of rotation 1, I believe. You'd like to see that X. Cartwright running in front, Evans going behind. We talked about it earlier, 9 times out of 10 it's going to Cartwright because 9 times out of 10 she gets a big kill when it counts.
Still set point for TCU. Arkansas would love to even things up, play a little bit longer here in our third set, but the Frogs will take it. 25-23.
Wow, what a way to end the third set. That block.
Off and rolling in the fourth set. Here from Barnhill. Cartwright with a push tip point.
Every time Arkansas in that rotation 1, Cartwright finds a way to get it done.
Continues to rack up the numbers. Cartwright 12 kills, no 13, I beg your pardon. Taylor Head has 12. Gillen sprawls to the floor. She can't do it again.
Nice block from Sylvester. Up there, pressing low and over the net. The ball runs really fast for Head to the outside, which she likes. But that one, it just seemed like it was a little bit too low. Didn't have a lot of, there's just not a lot of options of where she can go.
Head's going to put that one in the crowd, a souvenir. That thing went. Aaron, 2-1 Razorbacks.
Yeah, that one is a little bit different. The set had a little bit more lift, which I think is the function of the pass was off the net, so it had to be a little bit higher, but that just gives Head some more room to figure out where she wants to place it.
So a pair of Razorbacks with 13 kills apiece, and that's a bit of a fortunate bounce. Felt like TCU got a couple of those in the third. Arkansas had a few of those fortunate bounces in the second. A couple here have gone to the Razorbacks.
Yeah, I think in the end it all evens out.
You think so?
Yeah, I hope.
In baseball, we're not convinced that it does. Boy, that rode up the arms of Null. And is it in? Just out. That was in front of us. What did you think in real time?
In real time, I thought that might have snuck in.
I did too.
The way that the angles work, the right side, there's just so much room of the court. It can look like it can be sailing out 20 feet, but still sometimes finds a way to sneak into that back corner.
No review. We'll play on. Good start for Arkansas in the fourth. Hawks really trying to build an early lead. Bump set for Para. Free ball. Cartwright poked it up and over. And that one is in.
Big swing from Gibson when it counts. Again, finding that deep right back corner. There's just so much real estate when you're a right side going over there. Angles really work in your favor, and Gibson's trying to turn it on a little bit, having a really nice night. 12 kills with only 3 errors.
She had the tonsil issue this year that really kind of threw her season out of whack, and TCU as well, but they overcame it. Para waits to tip it up. Gillen from the middle, off the hands and down.
That middle back play has been more and more of a go-to play for Arkansas, and I really like it. It just provides another opportunity, especially when Hoag's in the front row.
This is Cartwright again. Who's going to get the swing? It's Taylor Head. Can't quite terminate. Ramschreiber saved it. Para goes over. Head might get another chance, and she will. Sent back. Jackson went sprawling to the floor. Will the third time be a charm? It is not. So she had several chances in that sequence.
Yeah, and a couple of chances where she was either in a one-on-one opportunity or the middle blocker was extremely late. So I like those choices from Hoag, but Head not able to terminate.
This time they'll go to Pettis on the slide. TCU with Gibson. Another chance for Taylor Head. This time she went with a tip. It was pancaked over, and she'll terminate off the scoreboard.
Nice smart play from Head. She just has such a quick arm, able to see it really quickly.
She was going to finish that one way or another.
Totally. If you give her enough chances, she's going to get the kill.
And Taylor serving. This could be her last match ever here at Barnhill as well, even though there's a year of eligibility left. Could be a beach volleyball season someplace. Won't be here. That block was tooled, and much needed point for TCU to stay within 2.
Arkansas has been really utilizing Pettis in the middle a lot in this fourth set, and I like it. You know, she might not be getting a kill right away, but again, it just forces the TCU middle blockers to hang on just a second longer, so they're not getting, you know, three different sets of hands in front of Gillen.
Here's the roller coaster ride that is Para serving. She's had a big night, and that big night will get a little bit better with the ace.
Just a completely different serve than what most athletes are used to, right? It has that side spin. It looked like Jackson's platform was right there, but I guess just the way that it bounced off, it ricocheted over to us.
You're Arkansas, you hope she hits one into the net and just gives you a break. Otherwise, she might go on another big run. This time it was handled barely. Chance for a finish, and Pettis had that one. Her eyes got big in the hitting radius.
That is a lot of attempts early in this fourth set. Nice job waiting for her set. Not sure if that first one was a little bit too high. Didn't love the choice tipping, but ultimately, you know, forced an overpass. So she's doing a nice job.
Lawson coming to serve as she has done throughout this year for Arkansas, and that's not even close.
You know, that deep tip is a really tough thing to master, and Knowles has thrown it in a little bit more often than what we typically see, and I don't typically see a deep tip out. It's really hard to get some oomph behind it, and that thing was about 10 feet out.
Is that a free ball? It is, and that one's down, and TCU takes advantage of that Arkansas mistake.
It's a big swing. Credit to Head to just get something under it.
Rayola into serve. 17 aces on the year. Scottsdale, Arizona native. Gillen got the hands and the kill.
Nice big swing from Gillen. Love that set from Hogue. Able to get her hands under it, and not just get her hands on the ball in that pretty low pass. You can see that slide to the corner of the court is awesome, but she was able to square up, so keeping it in front of Gillen and inside of her hitting window.
Gillen reaches double figures in kills, the third Razorback to do so, and she also has 12 digs, so a double-double for Gillen. That one just about took Hannah Hogue out.
Yeah, Arkansas isn't leaving a whole lot of line, but somehow, some way, Knowles is finding that little sliver, and when you're there in right back and the hitter as powerful as Knowles is coming at you in your face when there isn't a set of hands, it's not easy. It's hard to just get a hand on it.
15 kills for Knowles. Gillen tried it once. Head will try it from the middle. Who's going to get the swing here? Cartwright. 10th point goes to Arkansas.
Cartwright having a really efficient night. 14 kills, only 2 errors. Again, that didn't look like her most powerful swing in the whole world, but there was no way that TCU was going to be able to get another touch on it.
It's a part of what Jason Watson's talked about this team, the consistency, the cleanliness. And again, he said we might not fully appreciate how consistent and clean this team is until they're gone, until next year. And I think he's 100% right. Jason would have been really good during COVID. Talks a lot about cleanliness. And that one, well, there's 2 bodies down, but TCU able to play it over. This will be a big point if the Arkansas Razorbacks can get it and build a 4-point lead. Taylor Head had to hang and puts it down off the block, and that's a big one. Instead of 10-8, it's 11-7.
Out the way rally scoring goes, it makes all of the difference. Of course, every point is like a 2-point swing,
right.
But Head always finding a way to get it done. A little bit of a different swing. You know, it's kind of on her way down, so she catches the block on their way down, and it just dribbles in front of them.
15 kills for Taylor Head. She's going to get a chance for another one. The tip will land. 16 for Taylor.
Oh, man. I feel like everyone and their mom knew that Head was going to tip that ball, but it was just so low that TCU still wasn't able to get it up.
Timeout, TCU. They don't want to see this lead grow into
more difficult, and I'm sure that they'd like to run away with one tonight.
Feels like this is a crucial time, though, right now for TCU. And that's a quick answer.
Yeah, middle of the 4th set, down 5. You know, 13-7 feels a whole lot different than 12-8. Of course, Knowles putting it away, 15 kills. She's really been that go-to player for the Horned Frogs.
She continues to put forth a big night, and the block ends up out of bounds.
Nice set from Cartwright. Not typically a setter, but the ball kind of just landed in her position. She's all the way over here on the right sideline, delivering a set for Head to tool the block. That's not an easy thing.
Jackson serving. That time, Head could not save out of the net. Para gets the kill. .12 for Parr, although hitting 111 tonight.
You know, those I'm not a big believer in, you must make your first serve or you must make it your first serve out of the timeout. But when you're down, I think it's a little bit of a different story. You have to make the first, second, third to be able to get on those long runs.
It's a little more painful. There's no doubt about that. Another situation where it feels like this is almost kind of a must point for TCU. And Head a little bit errant on that one.
Taylor Head looking for that deep tip, kind of what Knowles has been doing a really good job of, but it just goes wide.
Good save in the back row. Pettis, I thought she might have a chance to put that down, didn't get it. And that's back-to-back errors on Taylor Head.
Yeah, it looks like Head is looking for those high hands. She's getting a lot of sets. Hogue is in the front row. If the ball is off the net, it pretty much has to go to Head, unless, starting to utilize Gillen in the back row. So I just see maybe if things are out of system, maybe not going back to Head again because she's just getting a lot of swings.
Courtney Jackson handled it. Fans were wondering about the double contact, but that was a block and then allowed, of course. Hogue will send it over, and TCU is able to keep it alive. Nice job by the Frogs. Hogue will get another chance. This time Pettis on the slide pushes one back, but out. Just some odd, sweet sequences here from the Razorbacks.
There are. It feels like just one
Unforced.
thing just isn't quite right. The set is just a foot or so off the net, which leads to, not the best hit in the entire world.
And Gibson with an ace. A moment ago, this was 14-9, now 14-13.
TCU doing a nice job taking control of the match. It feels like the points are happening really fast. So
Indeed.
That's, a lot of credit goes to Gibson behind the service line, putting pressure on Arkansas to force those errors.
Handled by Gibson. Free ball. 5-0 run by TCU. Jason Watson might want a timeout himself. I think he'll take it right here.
Yeah, on a ball like that, we know that Parra is a really strong player that, keeps things fresh and fun.
Well, let's see if Arkansas has an answer, because this has been all TCU here in the last couple of minutes, and Gibson serving again. Hogue goes to Pettis. Knowles had to go back and save that one, but that's going to be played out.
Yeah, that's not something that you see very often in the second round of the NCAA tournament. But TCU's had a lot of success with the free ball going to that right front position, caused a lot of traffic for Arkansas. So I think they're just being really aggressive and trying it again.
Parra, dug by Head. Gillen, sent over. Gillen's going to get another chance. She's going to get the kill.
Nice work by Gillen. I feel like Gillen was just itching to rotate to the front row. Head struggling a little bit. Still having a really nice night, but she was just getting a lot of attempts now. Gillen has rotated to the front. Really nice dig from Head to be able to set up Gillen. But you can tell, Gillen really wants the ball.
Must be a long wait for her to cycle back through, rotate up. That looked long out of her hands. We've had more 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 runs than I would expect for as tight as these scores have been.
Yeah, especially in this fourth set. Seen a couple of service runs from both sides, especially TCU, Gibson, and Knowles putting a lot of pressure behind the service line, and of course Parra serving with her unique serve that just clips the tape.
Pettis just hammered that one down.
Yeah, kind of taking a page out of Sylvester's book there.
She's been watching Sylvester do that for a couple of days.
And I like that play going to Pettis there. TCU had that rotation sub in where their setter Nicholson comes out. Adams goes in for the block. but Hogue goes to the middle, which kind of negates the purpose of doing that.
I felt like that was a big point for Arkansas.
It is 18-15, just like that, and a nice big block from Hogue and Evans.
Jada Lawson has a chance to string together some points for the Hogs. Bump set by Para. But that swing was long.
Looked like there's a little bit of confusion from the TCU coaching staff. Like, for sure, Taylor had touched it.
And there was a touch. Boy, TCU's red hot with their challenges.
Yeah, 2 reverses on 2 attempts at really critical times.
Raiola on the serve. Gillen had a sent back, great effort by Cartwright, played over by Gillen, and a little dance of joy as well, and a hug. I don't think she was expecting that result, but happy to get it.
Oh my goodness, what a fun play to watch. Taking that ball, just taking control, just get it done on that second one, and we see the high step at the end. I think you're right in saying that she was not expecting it. I don't think any of us were.
Jill Gill's jig was one pretty fun to watch. The dance of joy, I guess. And then Head with a great save on a Para swing. Gillen had that one sent back, but Arkansas inching a little bit closer.
What a great dig from Head. You saw that she was struggling a little bit offensively on that last go around, but she's really stepping it up to
point here for TCU.
Yeah, they all are, but this one especially.
No, down, and Arkansas's block gives the Hogs a 5-point lead.
Oh, and that set was high and inside. It was a bump set, so we all knew where the ball was going, but sometimes those high and inside sets are really difficult to block. It's a little bit different than what you're used to, that fast set, but Cartwright does a good job scooting all the way in so she can get both of her hands right in front of Knowles.
Arkansas more blocks than TCU, but that's an error to give the Horned Frogs their 17th point. And Nicholson will serve for TCU. Soft float serve. Cartwright sends one back towards Para. Hogue's going to set up Jill Gillen. Is Gillen going to get another chance? It'll be Cartwright going down the line and scoring again.
Not even sure how she did that. That set was a little bit higher than normal, but Cartwright does a nice job. Talk about your approach. You want slow to fast because sometimes you need to adjust your speed. So she takes that second step really slow, still finds the power in her last 2 steps to find some open court.
Hard serve. That's back-to-back errors, though, by Arkansas. Those are much-needed TCU points and freebies.
Yeah, and that puts a really good server in Knowles behind the service line. It's given Arkansas a little bit of trouble.
Can Arkansas side out?
And they do.
I'll match you a service error and see you another. Courtney Jackson trying to inch the Razorbacks a little bit closer to that Sweet 16. Para says no, not yet. Oh, that did touch.
It did, but it was a really good effort. The way that the ball bounced off the ground, I think, kind of gave it away. But if it didn't take such a high bounce, I would have thought Jackson saved it.
Ramschreiber trying to go on a run for the Frogs. Cartwright with the tip, and that thing just softly fell to the ground, and we are at match point. And this arena is going to be as loud as it has been all night.
Cartwright doing it again with the finesse, and she goes back to serve. Can she do it from behind the service line?
Fifth-year senior Maggie Cartwright. She has had an amazing year. What a position she is in right now for Arkansas. Para, played by Gillen. Can the Razorbacks end it here? Taylor head up and over. Was that a pancake? I believe it was. Gillen with a great effort. Free ball, put down by TCU.
A nice dig from Gillen, just a little bit too tight. We know Para delivers a lot of power, so you're thinking, can I just get this ball, high and off the net, give Hogue a chance to set that second ball.
Taylor Head, the senior, able to win it for the Razorbacks. How sweet it is! A trip to the Sweet 16 as the dream season